It's almost the end of May, and I can't wait to give you the June garden tour. The garden is growing like crazy. We've had nothing but rain for an entire week, and I haven't even set eyes on the garden since it's been downpouring. So let's check it out and see how our garden is doing in Garden Zone 9A. Hey friends, it's Barbara Sue at Kowalski Mountain and welcome back to our channel. Well, it's a sunny day here in Florida, but it's the first sunny day that we've had in over a week. It has been nothing but rain. It's so soft that Philip is out on an emergency job today because the rain is starting to wreak havoc on the trees in our area. So I get to work on the garden tours by myself today. And I haven't set foot out here since it's been raining so much. So let's see what we've got going on. Well, you can definitely see the effects of the rain. You can look at these right here, and that's like, let's say that's mold growing on this dead stuff that needs to be picked off. That's not good. Get rid of that. Get that off my plants. Like, that's attached. That can't be good. I really think all that mold is just because the plants are staying so wet and they're not getting to dry. Now these are a pole bean, and Philip actually meant to plant bush beans because we prefer bush beans, but we didn't read the package, so we planted what we got, and this is what we got. I like them when they're a little bit smaller, and I'm sure we're gonna find a really big one. They get kind of hard when they get larger. They also have these really yucky strings in them, and if I'm breaking them up and I see the strings, I pull them out. I was already able to can, I guess, about a dozen jars of green beans already. I'll put a picture of them. So we're definitely getting a lot of food out of this garden, but we're just not loving the green beans. We'll eat them anyway, but not our favorite variety. So definitely something that we're learning so that when we plant our food on the farm, that we plant a variety that we like. Now I'm gonna go ahead and pick them a little bit smaller because we just like them better. Now this is a tangled mess of beans. We actually talked about pulling the green beans because we don't like the variety. But we didn't. Now Philip picked a bunch 3 or 4 days ago. I really expected I'd be finding more by now, but not finding a ton. Now I did get some footage earlier this month of picking green beans, so let's take a look at that. Now here's an example of the ones we don't like. Way too big. When I break this in half, you can see that long string. That string is not good to eat. And sometimes you take a bite out of it and then you like want to pick it out of your mouth because it's so gross. So if I can pull them out when I'm processing the green beans, I do, but I don't work super hard at it. I just do the best I can. Here's another one of those really big ones. Way overgrown. But they're so hard to find sometimes. You know, you'll go over all of it and you think you got them all, and then you look and there's all kinds more. So they hide really well. Now the peppers are doing really well. I did, I think, about a half a dozen of stuffed peppers this week. So all the peppers and all the tomatoes came out of the garden, which is always so rewarding when you can make meals with the food that you are harvesting in your garden. Now we also used our venison that we harvest on the farm, and so that just makes the meal even better. Now I've got, this one has a soft spot on it. Now I won't waste this. I will cut that out and I will keep the rest. So there's one. That is a gorgeous pepper. It's so pretty. Now I could have let it go more yellow, but you saw that last one, and I don't want that to happen to this. There's two more big yellow ones. And another red one, not ready. Lots of little green ones, not ready to pick. Now I have a really good recipe for stuffed green peppers, and that's one of our favorite ways to use these because I can freeze it. So I can make all this up when the garden is booming, put them in the freezer, and then I just pull out a couple of peppers at a time, let them defrost, and we get to enjoy the garden goodness throughout the whole year, or as long as it'll last. But it's a really great way for us to use these peppers in a meal that's ready to eat. I prepare them and then I freeze them before I bake them. And so then they're really easy to eat another time. So check out the blog, KowalskiMountain.com, to get that recipe. Now this is cantaloupe. And Philip trained the cantaloupe to go up over a fence. If you look at the previous garden tour, which I'm going to put up here, you'll be able to see what it looked like when it started. But now we have beautiful little baby cantaloupes starting to grow. So let me show them to you. Now if you could see how I'm filming this, you would get a giggle. I'm literally laying on the ground so you can see that beautiful cantaloupe. I see 1, 2, 3 right where I'm sitting, and I know there's some on the other side. Now you might have heard me go, oh, when I climbed down here, and that's because of this. So this beautiful little baby cantaloupe is rotting. And that's so disappointing. Unfortunately, with all this rain, it's not really surprising. The chickens will still enjoy it, but we were hoping to enjoy this cantaloupe. Now the cantaloupe is still covered with blossoms, so it's not done yet. It's just so discouraging to see how many are rotting. I hope you can see that butterfly. Well, I counted 4 cantaloupes still on the vine. There were several rotten ones. But this one I found on the ground, which is so disappointing. And I see some holes in it, which that means that there's bugs in this, which is so aggravating to me. Bugs are the worst part of gardening, in my opinion. And I can feel that this is kind of soft, like right here. So there's 3 holes. There's one here, here, and here. So the bugs are probably feasting on this. I'm going to cut it open a little bit later when Philip gets home, and we're going to see anyway. But hopefully there's still a lot of blossoms, and hopefully the weather will cooperate and we'll get some cantaloupe this year. Now this side of the garden is Joy's side of the garden, so she gets all the credit for this. But I had to show you, this is okra, and I'm 5'9". It's taller than me, and I don't like okra at all, but the flowers are gorgeous, and I plant it just for that. Let me show you the flower. Now remember, this is Joy's, but I want you to see how pretty the flowers are. Isn't that just gorgeous? I love those flowers. Now these are also Joy's. These are long beans, and their flowers are gorgeous as well. And these are our baby long beans. These are not even done growing. You can see how big they are. I'm not really sure what she does with them, but the flowers are just so pretty. Here's an okra right here. When I did grow the okra, oh, there's some more right in there. When I was growing okra, just for the flowers, I would give her the okra. Now, if you've watched any of our other garden tours, you know that we are growing tromboncino squash as a fodder plant, and we're going to grow that to feed our animals. Now, we don't have any animals right now here with us in Florida, so we don't have anything to feed it to, but we wanted to grow it to see how it grew, and it's been super impressive. Now, I'm very sorry to tell you that Philip picked the first tromboncino squash, and he did not video it. He definitely knows better. I told him to video it, but he didn't. So I'm going to show it to you. So this is the very first tromboncino squash that we have harvested, and I just weighed it. It's a little bit over 4 pounds, and I should tell you how long it is. Let me get my measuring tape. So let's just see. From tip to tip, 35 inches. Of squash. Now, a tromboncino squash we can eat also. Now, from what I've read, at this stage where it's turned the peachy color, it's going to taste more like a butternut squash. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and of course I'm going to bring you along on a video when I cook this for the very first time. So we will eat this part as like a butternut squash, and then we will still eat this stem as well. So there's a lot of food here, 4 pounds worth of tromboncino squash. Now, the reason Philip picked it is because of this. It was sitting on the cement block and it was tearing it up. So rather than lose it, he picked it. So I guess I'll forgive him for that, but I did want you to see him pick it. Now, I have a couple others that are really large, and we're going to check them out. So here's the other two. And I took a picture of this one with my granddaughter. It's almost as big as my granddaughter. It's actually bigger than Harper, but not quite as big as Addison. Now, Philip really wants me to cut these because if you see right here, this stem is not doing very good and it's starting to rot out. I really want to give it a little bit more time. Those are not quite ripe to the ripeness that we want, that pretty peachy color. We may end up having to cut them, but I'm not going to do it today. So hopefully they'll ripen all the way. Let's see how big they are. We might need to cut this one. Let's see how big it is. Start. Now that was kind of a loose measurement because I couldn't reach it very good, but that one's 43 inches long. I might have to cut it. Let's look at this one. And that's also a pretty loose measurement. That's 36 inches. But I just saw something on that one that I don't like. I do not know what this is. Actually, we're definitely going to pick that. Oh, that is a worm. Are you seeing that? That is a little tiny worm trying to eat my squash. No, sir. No, sir. I don't know what all that gooky stuff was. Hopefully not more eggs. But I squished that worm. We're probably going to pick this. I'm going to wait for him. We'll do it together. Alrighty, we're going to cut these squash. The plant's dead, so we're going to cut them. Oh, word.
Right hand.
No.
That's why I wanted them out before they start coming in.
They got raging. Ooh, this one's heavy. So here they are. Hopefully they will continue to ripen. I guess
Shoot your livestock food. Gotta do the test when it doesn't really matter back home.
Now on this side of the garden, we only have a couple things left. We've got these little hot peppers, which I'm not a fan of hot peppers. I think he's growing them for salsa. I don't know if you can see them back in there. That one actually needs to be picked. It's got a spot on it. Hopefully I won't burn my eyes when I touch my face later. Here's one. There's a couple in there that probably should be picked. I'm not sure how big they need to get, so I'm not going to pick them right now. Probably going to pick them. And I thought I saw a green bean when I walked by. But of course I took my eyes off of it and now I can't find it. Now in case you're wondering, it's late morning, it's almost noon, and it's about 86 degrees here in Florida right now with a heat index of about 95. Now you can see I'm starting to get sweaty because it is hot out here in the direct sun. Now these are the mature grapes. We have 2 plants for that and they're doing really well. Now they don't have as much fruit as I expected because when they were smaller, the little baby grapes were everywhere. And now there's just like, I mean, there's still grapes, but not as many as I was hoping. Let's check it out. Now Philip keeps these really nicely pruned. You see some grapes in there. I'm not sure we're going to get as many as I had hoped to really be able to make some juice. Here's some nice clumps right here. Now these are a slip skin grape. They kind of have a really tough outer skin. And I just suck on it and pop the fruit out of it. And you can chew up that skin, but it's not like a seedless grape that you'd get in the store. Here's the other one. It's still got some little baby grapes on it. Now it takes about 3 years to really harvest grapes, and we did try to plant our vineyard in Kentucky and it hasn't done so good, so we're gonna have to plant that again. So while we tried to plant early so that the grapes would start growing and really flourish before we moved there, didn't work, so we will try again. Let's go check out the garden annex. Well, welcome to the tomato forest. The tomatoes are growing like crazy. I mean, I'm 5'9", so you can see how big they are. And they're covered with fruit, but they're all little mini tomatoes. And you know what? We're eating them anyway. They work great in the stuffed peppers. And I just take them by the baggie to work and I just eat tomatoes. And people always think that's weird. You know, I eat them like you would a grape, and they're good for you and I like them, so I eat them anyway. I like my tomatoes to vine ripen, but with all this rain, I was home one day this week and it started pouring really bad, and I came out here and picked pretty much everything because I didn't want them to split. So I don't really know what we're gonna find today because I haven't been back out here since, but I definitely have a lot of tomatoes that need to be picked. Now before I start picking, let's go ahead and just see what's in there. You can see all those green tomatoes. This is really just one plant right here that is just booming. I found the first split one. That's the first one I've seen. None of the others look split, which is great. This is a pretty one. Nope. Another split. And that's really why I'm picking all these. Oh, that one split too. I want to pick them before this happens. And they'll just ripen on the counter. It'll be fine. Not my favorite, but it'll be fine. And I have almost 3/4 of a colander. That's worth picking all these tomatoes for. Now these little tomatoes, I love them. They are very tasty, but they don't store well. Like if I pick these and leave them up, a lot of them will shrivel. If you tear the skin at all, it's lost. You might as well just eat it. So they're really only good for fresh eating. and really same day eating because they just don't last long. But they're really tasty. And they're really pretty to use as, they're really pretty to use for a garnish. Really gorgeous. These are just volunteer tomatoes. I did not plant these. And frankly, with this variety, once you do, I don't think you get rid of them. My mother-in-law found one over in the middle of the lawn that's just growing like crazy. So like this one, I tore the skin. You might as well eat it. It will not save. So now I have something that's not doing so hot. So let's go check it out. Now these are the green beans in the green stalk. And it's looking really rough. Apparently during the rainstorm, the caterpillars were not hiding out. They have just eaten this up. Let's look closer. I mean, just look at how terrible that looks. It's just eaten up. I really despise insects when it comes to gardening. I wish I could find the caterpillars. I would squish them. And I also don't know what's going on with this dappley looking leaf. You know, I don't know what's going on. Now plants want to grow. So even as terrible as this looks, there are still green beans. Now the really sad part about this is the kind of green beans that we like. These are bush beans. That one wasn't good. It was too hard. Yeah. I'm gonna pull this. It's done. Now, we should be moving to Kentucky by the end of the year, so it's probably safe to take this green stalk on up to the homestead. I did buy the rotating bases. There was a really good sale, and I went ahead and bought them, so I can't wait to try them when we reset them up. Hey friends, I am interrupting this garden tour to give you some important information. I noticed a plant that my mother-in-law, Joy, had stuck in a pot, and I recognized the very distinctive flowers on it, and I realized that I was wrong about the plant identification of one of the plants in my garden, and I never want to mislead my followers. So I'm confessing my wrongdoings today and showing you a true loofah plant. Now what I had growing in my garden, I don't know. And it didn't produce anything, and I pulled it out. So let's check out what a real loofah really looks like, and I'm positive about this. So I was walking by and I saw this, and this is definitely a loofah flower. Now if you look at this leaf, this is nothing like the plant in my garden that I have been calling a loofah. And then I noticed this. And there it is. A beautiful loofah. So the squash-like plants in my garden that I have been calling loofahs are not. And I have no idea what they are. Here's another vegetable. So I have pulled out those intruding plants as they had done absolutely nothing in my garden. And I wanted to show you a true loofah plant, as it's never my intention to mislead my followers. I was just wrong. Now this sad looking pineapple is still holding on. It's looking okay. I have to admit, it's hanging in there. Doesn't look great, but it's definitely holding on. Talking about volunteers, there is a volunteer tomato right here. Now these are the potatoes, and they are not looking wonderful in all this rain. They just haven't looked great. We'll see what we get. Now we planted a ton of potatoes in Kentucky, a ton, like 3 long rows of potatoes, so I can't wait to see what we get from that. Well friends, that really wraps up the June garden tour. We've got some stuff that's booming, got lots of green beans, lots of tomatoes, we got stuff that's not doing anything, but that's gardening. I want to encourage you, if you live in a small area and you can't have a ton of garden space, vertical is your friend. That's been a great way to increase our garden space, and it really doesn't take very much room. Our garden is not very large, but we've still produced enough green beans for me to can, and I could probably make some salsa with the tomatoes I've got. Maybe not much, but I could make a little. You know, and then the peppers have been great. So even if you don't have very much gardening space, you can garden, and I really want to encourage you to give it a try. There's nothing more satisfying than fresh grown vegetables on the dinner table. Well friends, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.